It can be a hassle trying to make a thumbnail for your new YouTube video, but especially if you're new to the software that you're using. So I wanted to hop on today to give you a very simple step-by-step tutorial that even a beginner can follow on how to make a YouTube thumbnail my way in Affinity Photo. And we're going to do it by making the thumbnail for this very video. Let's hop into it. Now, before anything, the content of the thumbnail is very dependent on the category and genre of your YouTube channel. So if you check out my gaming channel, for example, linked in the description below, you will notice that those thumbnails are very different from the thumbnails on this channel. And while you're down there, be sure to click that like button because you're awesome. Okay, now let's move on. Now, since this video that we're gonna be making the thumbnail for is a simple tutorial video, I wanna have three things in it. I wanna have me, I wanna have a thumbnail, and I wanna have text. So first things first, let's grab a picture for the thumbnail, shall we? And there we go. Great. Now let's hop into Affinity Photo and get to work. So now that we're here in Affinity Photo, we're just gonna go up to File and New. Now I like to edit all of my photos, all of my thumbnails in 4K, just because it gives me that increased control over the details. And well, not like a lot of the finer details are gonna be that clear in the final product, in the thumbnail itself. But I mean, it's just the way that I want to do it. And now that we're here, we just want to grab our image that we're gonna start working with. So we're gonna go with this photo. Just open up the background, Control A to select everything, C and V. Nope, Control V here. Then you're just gonna stretch it out all the way to fill the canvas. At this point, when you have your first, when the photo is first thrown in here, you want to just Control J to duplicate the layer so that you have a backup if you need it. I'm just gonna name this original OG. This is the original image. Then we're just gonna go over here to Selection Brush Tool. Now what this is gonna allow you to do is that you can just draw, and Affinity Photo will try to understand what you're trying to select. It will make some predictions while you're just drawing around. It won't be perfect the first time, but don't worry, we're about to fix that. There we go. Now that we have most of it, well, chair is still a bit mostly not in it, so let's fix that. Yeah, something like that. But as you can see, selection of our head is completely not there. So we want to go to Subtract. And now the dance of adding and subtracting begins. Yeah, so the hair is always a problem for Affinity, for any program, surprisingly, because it's very fine details. So you want to go to Refine. Now in the Refine selection tool, you want to notice Feather and Smooth. At the start, I was a bit, didn't understand what these meant, what the difference was. So Feather is the one that adds a fade to the edges themselves. So it gives a little opacity decrease, just smooths it out a little. The smooth actually has to do with the angles in the selection itself. So the smoother it is, the more it's going to try to smooth out every corner in it. So if you go smoothing full, you can see that there's not even that sharp of a turn anymore. It's trying to smooth everything out. You don't want to go overboard with this because you won't get any details, but you don't want to leave it completely blank because the selections can be a little janky. Like you saw with the hand, it was going like a constant zigzag. You don't want that either. But once you have something you like, you can increase the brush, then just rebrush the hair area. And Affinity will take a closer look at the stuff you just painted and try to make a better selection. Let's just drag it around. And let's see what it does. See? A lot better. Took the selection to the hair, but not to the background. That's still a bit off. You can try to redo it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For some reason it doesn't want to include my hair there. That's fine. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be good enough. Then when you have a selection that you want, you can just simply Control-C, Control-V. Now what we did with that is that we have a layer with just our background. Then you want to go back, click here, Invert Selection, Control-C, Control-V. What that did is that we have a layer with just us, the subject. Fantastic. So we just want to go subject and background. Then we just deselect everything. For some reason, this layer had letters of the chair. Just quickly remove that. So as you can see, if you remove the OG photo, you have this weird halo effect all around, because that's because of the feather. But you can just simply leave the OG photo there and it'll fill out everything that is not sharp in the first images and in these images. So you're free to adjust these. These will fill out 99%, but everything this doesn't fill out. The little details. The OG photo is there for that. Then, if you want to get that nice blurred background, you can just select the background layer, go to Filters, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Now you don't want to go overboard because it will start looking like poo-poo. And you don't want to go too low because, well, it doesn't affect anything. But here you can basically adjust how much bokeh your photo has. I think I'm gonna go with something like that. I think that looks pretty good. Since the text was for some reason selected in the subject layer, subject selection, I'm gonna go to in painting and I'm just gonna see what it does. But he tries to fill it out. It fills it out with black. Fine. Let's just do it for the entire chair. Not that important. But it's there. Okay, I like how that's looking. Next, I'm just gonna hop into the adjustment layer, and I'm gonna throw in an HSL. Just click on default to get it in there, and then just drag it over the layer that you want it on. Because if it's here, it's going to affect everything below it. But if you drag it on this layer and let go, see, now it's a child of that layer. And now it only affects that layer. But I want to increase the saturation. You can break your image. Don't. Looks bad. Something like that. It's a nice boost. I'm going to hop over to the adjustment layer and I want some adjustments on myself. Something like a white balance to make me look a bit more natural. Something like that. Do I need something else? Maybe a little contrasty. See, this is not the image that you're looking for. What I have up here is the navigator. And basically what it gives me is a smaller version of the image. This is awesome when you're making a thumbnail, because you can actually see a live preview of what the image that you're modifying, what the image that you're making, what it's going to look like as the thumbnail on the website. It's not intended for that, but that is one use that YouTubers can use. And it works fantastically. So hop in here, do a little contrast, make sure that it's on me. It is. Maybe a bit more contrast. And I think I'm gonna need a little bit more brightness. Might do some adjustments with the with something else in a little bit, just to make myself a little bit sharper. Filter, sharpen, clarity. Up that, not too much, so that it looks like I glow. Just a bit more clarity, make me a bit sharper, and I think that's good. Now, next thing that we need, remember I said I want three things. I want me, I want text, and I want a thumbnail. Let's add text. You can just go over to here to artistic text tool, and then just simply drag on. That doesn't matter, but the idea is that you just want to be able to include your text in here. Having a font that you consistently use across your thumbnails will give it that consistency that might not be completely clear, but it definitely works. Something that I love to do. Maybe you'll love doing it too. There we go. I use Fuga's one. It's the one I've used across all of my thumbnails. That's the one that I'm going to be using. I want to color it red, but I don't want to leave it red. I don't like how this looks, but that's why I'm going to go over to the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to drag a white box across the text. Of course, drop it below, and that's looking a lot better. Easier to read, so definitely better. Once you have it like you want it, you can just control click both of them, control G to group them up, and now you can just move it. They'll be together. This is not the only text that I want, so I'm just going to control J this 3 times because I want 4 words. Thumbnail, then just simply click the artistic layer. Now you can just type something else and just drag this to match. Oop, that's the wrong one. When you move it in the group. Right now I'm noticing that the text is actually too big, so I'm going to adjust that in a second. First, I want to get this done. We have those. We can just play around with the size. So when you have a rectangle in there, when it's a group, it will adjust the size in proportion. If you want to free transform it, you can just hold shift and make whatever you want. This is once again where you see the power of the navigator, because you can actually see when if the text is too small or not. Okay, I like that. I like how that looks. I'm just going to select everything to give it a bit more depth. I'm just going to select all of them and go to outer shadow. Quite a lot of offset. More radius. More radius. Less offset, no. Just more opacity. There we go. When you're making adjustments like that, you just want to keep an eye on the navigator, not necessarily the photo itself. Now that we have that, we need the thumbnail. Now, how can you get the photo, this photo, into itself. Well, you could just copy everything and resize it that way, which is a terrible idea. But what you can do, you could also just save the image and then bring it back in, but that's a terrible idea. So instead, go to your layer, right click, and select Merge Visible. It creates a new layer with everything in it. Wow. Now you can just place it however you want it. There's a bit less room that I wanted, so I'm just gonna select all of these, adjust the size to be a bit bigger, like so. Ooh, that's a lot better. Yeah, definitely like this. Readjust the texts, and now we can fit thumbnail way better here, so that it's on the over the hand. No, I mean ideally it would be like here, but this would be something that you should pay more mind to when you're taking the actual photo and the composition of the photo that you take. We can just go to effects. We'll give it a little bit of an outline, white outline, so it looks like it's like a frame, and it actually looks like a thumbnail. Make it a bit bigger. Go to outer shadow. Give it a little bit more depth, like so. It's not really visible in the final product, but it's good enough. I'm just gonna, at this point, I'm just gonna go to copy, because the one thing that's bothering me here is the fact that the thumbnail that I'm holding doesn't have the thumbnail in it. So that's why I'm gonna go and merge visible again, so that we have another version in which I am holding the thumbnail now. And this depends on you how many times you want to do it. But I'm just gonna hide the one under it. Personally, I want to go so that it's so small that you can't tell that the bottom layer doesn't have a thumbnail in it. So I'm gonna do this probably 4 times. And the reason that I copied the previous one was that instead of having to go to the effects and making the outline and the shadow and adjusting them again, I can just now select the new one, go to edit and paste effects. Boom. There we go. Got the same outline and the same shadow again. And you're done. There we go. That's how you would make a thumbnail my way. So I don't always use the text. I rarely use the text in the boxes, but for this, I feel like it was better. It was more eye-grabbing. And of course, the thumbnail trick is something that I feel is a must for a video where you're talking about thumbnails, but that's just my way of looking at it. And then of course, the last thing that you want to do is go to File, and you can save. Remember, saving this will make a new Affinity Photo project file, so that your image is not now saved. How you want to do that is you go to File and go to Export. Now you can select how you want to save it. Personally, I go for JPEGs, and usually this is what you start with, I think. I don't know. I usually save everything else in 100 quality, but as you can see, the estimated file size is 3.64 megabytes, and the size limit of a YouTube thumbnail is actually 1 megabyte. So this won't do. This would not be allowed. So what you can do is either you can lower the resolution, or possibly easier, just lower the quality of the JPEG to where it is under that requirement. So just go to 85, export it where you want it, and there you go. You're done. You can now throw it on your video, and that's it. Hope this helped. Hope this got you any ideas. possibly a new way to use Affinity Photo, which I hands down think is worth the money. I'll link the software in the description below, but it's no way a partnership or anything like that. I just think it is a piece of software that is so fantastic that everyone who is doing anything should get it. Affinity Designer is another one that you can use. Both of them together is like, it's pretty much cheaper than a year's subscription to Photoshop. So it is what it is. But personally, I love Affinity. Thanks so much for watching. If this helped you guys at all, remember to like the video and consider a subscription to the channel. Check out my other stuff. This is not the last Affinity Photo tutorial I'll have. I might even make these a thing. So just stay tuned for more of that. Remember to ring the bell and you'll get most of those. I think that's it. Yeah. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you next time.